We are joined today by Kevin McCarthy, APA member in Phoenix, Arizona, and one of our head referees in Vegas. Kevin, how are you?
I'm well, thanks, Becky. How are you?
Doing well.
Kevin, you look a lot different without the glasses. Where's the glasses?
I just wear those so I can see the shots. Otherwise, I
Okay.
can I can take them off.
Those are a necessity when reffing only. All right. Well, we won't
And
make you
driving.
we won't make you make any rulings today on the interview. So
No, not today.
Sounds good. How are you, Jason?
doing good. It's good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
So, Kevin, why don't you kind of start out by telling us how did you get started in the APA?
Well, that's sort of a loaded question, Becky, but here we go. As probably many APA players, I of course played pool every now and then in a bar if there was an opportunity that arose. But where I really began my journey with APA, believe it or not, was in prison. And a lot of people don't even realize that story around the APA. But I spent 33 months in a federal prison for a crime I didn't knowingly commit. Not that I'm innocent, I did what I did, but I didn't realize my boss was actually committing one of the largest stock frauds in the history of the state of Washington. So 11 plus him, 11 other men and myself went to prison, spent a number of years in prison, depending on the individual. And so I won't give you too much of the information other than the fact I took this job and did what I was told to do, had some red flags during the process, but was able to rationalize and justify the red flags as he was really good at manipulating the truth. And I was blinded by greed and some other things because I was vested heavily in the stock of that company. And so I find myself in a federal prison in sort of a dormitory style. It was a minimal security prison in Oregon. And so we didn't have fences around the property except on one side. We didn't have locks on the doors or bars on the windows. So it was prison, but it was chill prison, if that is a possibility. And so in our dorm, we had, yeah, I wouldn't recommend it for other people, but it wasn't awfully bad for me. I had two pool tables. We had one in each of our dorms. So that's where I really began to play more pool. Obviously, I had time on my hands. And this is where the journey began for APA because I was playing against a young man who had recently arrived. And he started talking about being in a pool league before he got arrested. And I was intrigued. I'm like, pool league? There's pool leagues? Oh my goodness. And so after I got out a while later, I totally forgot about that conversation because I was obviously super excited just to be out of prison. And then I was watching television, and that's when I saw an APA ad while I was watching the nine ball women's championships. And it was that was fate. I called the number, got hooked up at headquarters, referred over to the Salem League, which was about 30 minutes away from me in Oregon. And so I joined up with Randy Lee, and I've been an APA enthusiast ever since 2010.
Kevin, I've been at APA almost 25 years, and I've heard a lot of stories about how members have gotten involved in the league. But I think yours is the first that I've heard was born in the prison
I
confines. So
think
that's
so.
certainly an interesting twist on the story. Now, what I love about your story, Kevin, is that a lot of folks that maybe have experienced something like that, or been behind bars, what have you. In a lot of cases, I think people would want to push that history behind them. Something they don't want to talk about, something they kind of hide in their past. But you have taken the opposite approach, and you have really leaned in to this life experience, and you've kind of used it as a way to guide others or hopefully help others from not necessarily running into the same issues as far as going to prison, but just in life in general. Can you talk about how you've leaned into that experience a little bit?
Absolutely. And again, very long story short, but once I landed in prison, let me back up. Before I went to prison, I was at the top of my game. I had just sold a company during the dot com, and it was very financially lucrative. And then I lost a whole lot of my financing through some other stupid financial decisions in the stock market. Like I'm not the brightest bulb in the barn when it comes to money. And so here I am in prison now, thinking, what in the world? How did I get here? How did I not know my boss was committing a crime? And so that began my journey into what's considered cognitive psychology. I had to understand what happened, what made me not see it. And so that was the beginning of what was the outcome was blind spots. I realized we all have blind spots. So while I was in prison, this passion grew to say, you know what? Yeah, this is not my best moments in life. I'm somewhat embarrassed at that time, but I knew I just had this almost calling. I felt this passion to go out and help other people learn how to understand what their blind spots are, and then learn, get the tools and learn how to mitigate those blind spots. And so, because we all have them, and then I realized this isn't just about going to prison. This is like everybody's got blind spots. So it's whether you're making small decisions or big decisions, you're in relationships, whether it's your significant other or at business and you're leading teams or you're working with colleagues. It's like these blind spots impact all of that. So that's what caused me to want to go ahead and open up. Now, it wasn't easy. I got out of prison in 2007 and thought I would jump right into speaking, which I had done prior, and fell flat on my face because I had to deal with all the just the shame of that stigma, if you will. But once I healed and had some help healing, I started the process. In that process, I ended up writing a book, and the book became an Amazon bestseller. And from that, I've had speaking events pretty much everywhere, whether it's keynotes, training, online courses, and you name it. So that's how I've leaned into it, Jason.
Yeah, I love how you've taken a very negative in your life and turned it into a positive and something to help others. I think that's great. So let's kind of flip the script a little bit and talk about how you became a referee at our events in Vegas. I mean, obviously you started playing APA, got, I'm sure, heavily involved, but at what point did you get involved being a referee?
Yeah, so starting in 2010, played in Salem for a while. Then I moved up to Portland area, so I was in the Merle and Boomers League. And one year, and I don't remember exactly what year it was, I want to say it was maybe 2016, 2015, somewhere in that area. I found out that they hold an annual referee training meeting. So Merle's been doing this for years with his right hand, John Blue, and every February, first weekend of February, they have this all-day event where if you want to become a ref, or if you're a team captain, you just want to know more about the rules and how to watch shots and everything else, you're all invited, right? So I jumped in. I decided, why not? I don't know what's going to happen here, but I loved it. It was a great experience. And then I didn't know if I passed the tests and everything that took place that day. And suddenly I get a phone call, and Merle congratulated me on being selected to be a local ref. So now I am refereeing some of the local events, the smaller ones, being called upon to go and referee teams occasionally that had conflicts between them, and it was league night, and that could be a problem. And so, we just go sit there and watch them and answer their questions, watch shots if they asked us. I did that for, gosh, I think a couple years, Jason, Becky. It was 2018 when John Blue called me and said, "Hey, I've got an opening for a referee in Vegas, and I would love to put your name in." So 2018 was the very first year that I started refereeing in Vegas.
Very
Nice.
cool. So how has that experience refereeing in Vegas been for you?
It's literally the highlight of my year. I mean, I love my vacations, don't get me wrong, and what we do in our personal lives. But I look forward to, first of all, the community, the teams, all the people there, the staff, all the volunteers, my colleagues, my referee friends and colleagues. I just look forward to it every year. So twice a year, it's like, okay, great, spring, and here comes the summer event. So it's been a really good experience that I look forward to. We can go in more detail, obviously, but
Yeah, go into a little more detail for us. Like, what does a typical day in the life of a referee look like for you in Vegas?
yeah, that's a typical day. So typical day is, pretty much we prepare to arrive at our shift, and shifts can be 6 hours, 7 hours, depending on the shift. And we arrive about 45 minutes early. At least I like to get there even as early as an hour early. Get ready, put our smocks on, get all of our equipment, get the lay of the land, what's to expect today. Look at the boards where we keep an eye on, if there's any issues like sportsmanship violations that have happened up until that point in the event. We're aware of that. And then we get our instructions from our team leader, which we are known as floor managers, and then we start our shift. So typical day in working the shift is super fun. First of all, I love the game. So I'm constantly watching all the players as much as I can. We have seats, but you'll find that I tend to not want to sit down. I like to move around and just kind of watch the game because it's so fun to watch everybody play. It doesn't matter what your skill levels are. And as I'm walking around watching people play, I'm also watching for fouls and defense marks. And of course, I don't jump in if I see fouls or anything like that unless I'm asked. But I watch for that kind of thing. And then I'm available. I want to make sure everybody knows where I'm at. So if they have a need for a ref, then they can call me over and I can be as readily available as possible. And then after the shift, we usually go back, drop off all of our stuff, and then go get some rest. Especially get off the feet, because my feet are like barking at me by the time I'm done with the shift.
Oh, I can only imagine.
It's interesting to hear you say that it's how much fun it is, because I
Yeah.
would have thought it would have been like very stressful.
Agreed.
To me, the role of a good referee or umpire, or whatever the sport is where you're an official is, it's kind of like good service at a restaurant. Like,
Right.
everything should be seamless, but you really shouldn't notice it, right? So I'm curious, like, have there been stressful moments? Like, what was the most difficult situation you've encountered in Vegas, I guess?
Oh boy. Yes,
Or one
there
of
are.
them.
Certainly, I know. There's which one? There's plenty of stressful moments. We're there to serve. We're there to help. We want to help all the teams have fun, have a good time, and compete well. But sometimes tensions get high, and suddenly we get pulled into that tension. Or sometimes I'm the one who caused the tension, not intentionally. I've just called a shot, and that just made everybody upset. One team usually. And so probably the hardest time though was almost a personal attack, not physically on me, but it was right after COVID, and we all got back together in that we were all wearing masks, if you remember
Right.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a tense moment for everybody. Nobody wanted to wear those masks in the well, I shouldn't say nobody. Some people did, but it's like it would have been nicer not to have them when we're playing pool. And we were, making sure that the people were keeping their masks on to make everybody comfortable. And one guy that was standing by the team, and I don't know that he was an active player on the team, but he was right there with the team. He started giving me a hard time, and to the point, I won't go into all the details, but to the point where I ended up having to call a floor manager, who then called the tournament director, and they started watching this person. And I'm just kind of doing my job now. I'm just kind of not going to pay attention to him, even though he's making hand gestures, if you will, at me any chance he gets. And then I find out from the tournament director, he said, "Did you see what he just did?" And I was like, "No, fortunately I didn't." He goes, "What happened?" He goes, "Well, we ejected him from the, not just the tournament, but from Westgate. He was actually standing 2 aisles over, and he was, again, making hand gestures and trying to distract me from my job." Fortunately, like I said, I didn't see him, but that was a very tense moment, I think, for me, because it felt personal, whereas most of the time, none of the calls or anything else becomes personal at that level.
Yeah, I'm sure that was difficult. And I remember that event well. It was challenging to, like you said, most people did not want to wear masks. Clark
Right.
County, though, at the time, which is where Las Vegas is, required them. And so we had to require everybody to keep them on. So the event didn't get,
Right.
shut down. And so that was
Right.
a little bit of a crazy time, but certainly in kind of an interesting story. And the fact that why he would take that out on you in particular is strange
Right.
to me. But at what point, so we talked about being a referee, but at some point you graduated from not just being a referee at our events in Las Vegas, but moving into Pool Dog Arena, which is where we do all of the championship finals. And it seems like you're a staple of the referees that are always in there now. And so how did that come about, and what is that experience like?
That of all of my APA experiences so far, that tops it. I mean, I'm certainly humbled and honored to even be in that arena as a championship finals referee. And it's how I get there? I don't know. I mean, it's like nobody ever said, "Hey, we're going to bring you in because A, B, C, and D."
You just woke up one morning in Pool Dog Arena and went at it, right?
That's
They
right.
just,
I
like,
went to bed
did
one
a-
night. And how did I get here?
How did I get here?
Did a floor meet? I mean, who asked you to go in there?
I know. At that point, so I think it was a couple years ago now, and at that point, I believe it was Dana Patton, one of
Okay.
the floor managers. Her and I had been on the same team on the floor when she was a floor manager, and then she moved into the arena as well as one of the finals leaders, team leaders. And so I believe she was the one that asked me the very first time. And then from that point on, it's Zach Rose, the tournament. I'm not sure his title now. He got promoted, but the person at headquarters there who handles all of the referee, scheduling and so forth, he usually puts me on that list. But what I do understand is at the end of every tournament, our floor managers, these are league operators who volunteer their time, and they run us as teams. We have multiple teams. And so our individual floor managers are asked, and I think even fill out a survey about each individual ref. And how did they do? Would you have them back, and so forth? I haven't seen the survey, but that's what I understand is a big part of whether you're coming back to Vegas as a ref, and possibly will you have an opportunity to be a ref in the Pool Dog Championship room.
Nice. Well, I mean, I certainly you've earned your opportunity to be in there because you've come back now year after year in there. But what's interesting about Pool Dog Arena, Kevin, and I don't know that a lot of people realize this because it's kind of been an evolution of things in there as we've transformed that room into what it is today. But the other big transformation with the match itself is that the referees are now actively involved in calling the match. And when I say actively involved, it used to be that you only got involved in the match, even in the finals, if one of the teams asked for a referee to watch a hit or rules clarification, what have you. But now you guys are actually charged with, being actively involved. If you see something that happens on the table, even if you've not been asked to watch, you have to make a call. And so what has that evolution been like from your perspective?
Wow, I remember that very well. First time we implemented that, and I was asked to be in the finals championships. I believe it was for the 8-ball championships that particular time. It was highly stressful. You're on heightened alert with everything. We have to watch. We have to know. We have to keep a log in our head of which team is stripes, which team is solids. That kind of thing. If it's doubles, who's going to be up to the table next. That we have to make sure we're conscious or always paying attention because it's us. It's up to us to make those calls, and we don't have to wait any longer, right? I remember one of the matches for 8-ball. I'm sure a lot of people will remember this. I actually accidentally racked the 8-ball on the back row of the rack, and then the player broke. They played the whole game. Nobody saw it in the arena, but of course, Facebook feed with heads down, camera shots. They saw it. I didn't even believe I did it. I was just like, no way, I did not do that until I watched it on video. Blind spots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Crazy.
that live stream has to be a whole other level of added pressure too for you guys.
Yeah, it really is because just for that very reason. I mean, everybody can see, and it's recorded forever, what's going on.
Exactly.
So we're human, but we may make mistakes, but for the most part, we are really very actively thinking about everything going on in that arena at that time during a match so that we can be proactive and not just reactive. And in fact, for example, if it looks like a player is going to do a defensive shot up against a rail, or ball that's on the rail, we just walk over and we'll look to see if it's frozen. If it is, we'll call it, and then we'll watch the hit. And if it's not, let them shoot it, right? So we've got to always be watching what's going to happen next.
Nice.
Yeah. So what keeps bringing you back to Vegas year after year?
Well, you and Jason.
I thought you were going to say the
Oh,
weather.
okay.
I thought you loved the weather. I know you're a Phoenix guy,
Oh,
so
yeah.
you love that dry, hot air, right?
Yeah. Love
It's a dry
might be
heat,
an
right?
exaggeration. It's a dry heat, yes, and it's just as hot as everywhere else. Um, no, really, I seriously look forward to it. I put it on my calendar, and always, every single year, I cross my fingers and hope that I don't get a client asking me to come and speak for their event during APA, and I've actually turned one down because I thrive in there. I love the community. Like I said earlier, the colleagues, you guys, all the staff at APA, you run a phenomenal event. Everybody, for the most part, is having a great time. The energy is unbelievable. All of you who are aspiring to get to Vegas, get there because you won't even believe it until you're there. You even come up and play the mini tournaments, even if you're not on the roster to play anywhere else in the arena, because you'll have a great time doing it. At least I know I do.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, we appreciate everything that you do and all the referees do, really. Again, all volunteers that come out to Vegas for 2 weeks and a lot of times give up their vacation time or time with their families to help run the event. And kind of a thankless job, but really appreciate that you guys are willing to do it. And also, thank you for jumping on here, talking a little bit about your history and how you got involved in APA and that kind of thing. So it's good to see you just in general.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Great to see you all. Hey, do you mind if I give a quick shout out?
You shout
Go
away.
ahead.
All right. Hey, Merle and Boomer, thank you for helping me groom into this APA world really well. Randy Lee, you started me off. And then my friend John Blue, who's the head coach in Oregon, who really was a mentor, still is. And then my friend who I met there in Vegas, now a long-term friend, Robert Taylor, who is also a mentor. Robert took me under his wings as soon as John Blue decided to retire, and has really been a close confidant, or comrade, I guess. Confidant, comrade, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, shout out to all of you. Appreciate you. Appreciate all you guys, and thanks for all you do.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Kevin, and we'll look forward to seeing you again in Vegas soon, buddy.
Thanks, Kevin.
Sounds good. Take care, y'all.
Take care.